Nico, I'm really happy to be here. What's good, Germany? I appreciate all the love in the chat, and it was perfect timing. I just realized like 30 seconds ago that my webcam wasn't plugged in. So here we are. I'm ready to go, and I can see that that you all are ready as well. I gotta say, I appreciate you all so much because my German is like nil. It's non-existent. So I'm gonna be speaking in English. When I was speaking with Nico, he said that we're not gonna run any translation. So I hope that that's cool with all of you. But I'm excited for today. No, I really, really am. And again, thank you so much for having me. And what my intention is for today, for the next 30, maybe 40 minutes, we're going to go kind of closer to power hour, is to share with you some things that I've learned along the journey that have helped take my trading to the next level. Because as we know, there's a lot of technical stuff that we can learn when it comes to what we're looking for, why we're looking for it, how to interact with the markets, and all of that. But I personally believe unless you have the foundation in place to think properly and to know what it is that you need to be doing at each different step, without that fundamental foundation of your mindset, you're not going to have the results that you're looking for. And so I want to talk to you about that. And I also want to get into some of the spiritual side of trading. For those of you that don't know me, I've been trading now for 7 years. I started back in 2014 with the foreign exchange markets. This was prior to me knowing about IM Academy, prior to me knowing the trade house, prior to me really even knowing too much about smart money because I was just getting started. And the one thing that really clicked immediately when I looked at a chart for the first time, there was just some sort of feeling of I don't know how, I don't know why, but I want to learn as much as I can about this because even then, when I first got introduced to the markets, the one thing that I understood is that there was money exchanging hands constantly right in front of me on the screen in the form of candlesticks. And I was fascinated by that. I was incredibly fascinated by that. In the beginning, it was fairly challenging, as I'm sure for some of you. And let me know in the chat, how long have you been trading? A couple months, couple weeks, couple years. Where are you at in your trading journey so that I can have a better idea? Because we got a very diverse group. We have a very diverse group here right now. We've got a month, 10 months, 3 months, 4 months, a year, 2 weeks, 1.5 years, couple months, 8 months, 3 weeks, 4 months, 6 days, some even your first week. Let's go. That's amazing, amazing, amazing. So we've really got a pretty diverse group of people here today. Some of us have been trading for more than a few years, some of us literally just getting started. And in the beginning for me, what was very tough was developing the right intention behind why I was actually trading. And so I'm going to give you an example. When I first got started, I was in the mindset of wanting to make a lot of money really quick. And one of the ways I thought I would be able to successfully do that is by copying the ideas of others. I was working with different mentors. I had other students in the community that I was involved with. And for whatever reason, I would put a lot of emphasis and a lot of power into these ideas in the market that other people were looking at. Now, in my 7 years, I've never met a single person that's become successful just by copying and pasting ideas. If you know someone that's like killing it on the charts and killing it with their results by copying other people, connect me with them because they could probably be really good for for a contact to have. but but just getting back to being real, I have not met a single person that has become successful long term from copying ideas from others. So that's a challenge because when you come into this, you're going to have a lot of doubt. You're going to have a lot of beliefs that you really need to take a look at and decide, are these helping me or are these hindering me on the path to becoming successful with trading? And I would imagine that each and every single one of you that's here right now, you want to have confidence in your own markups. I'm sure on a core level, you want to be able to look at a chart. Doesn't matter if it's Forex, crypto, stocks, indices, commodities, bonds, like whatever. And you're moving towards getting to that point by participating in calls like this. Now, the most difficult thing about this process is that there aren't any guarantees, right? There are absolutely no guarantees. I don't know about you, but me, my experience with the education system, I went to college for literally a couple of months, and I felt like I was wasting my time, wasting my money. I dropped out, but I know if I continued on that path, I was guaranteed to get a degree. Whereas with trading, there is no guarantees. You could be studying and putting in the time for days, months, weeks, years, and you are not guaranteed a single thing. You aren't guaranteed that you're going to be able to retire your parents. You aren't guaranteed that you're going to be able to get your dream home. You're not guaranteed that you're going to be able to travel or make an impact in your community, to be a role model for your family from the things that you're able to do through trading. None of that is guaranteed. But what I personally believe, and this is at the core of smart money, we play probabilities, not possibilities. And I think that there's a very good probability, if you stick with this and you go through the ups and downs on this journey, you're going to be in a much better position 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now than wherever it is that you even are right now. On this journey, I'm going to share with you a principle that has really helped me. And if I could get the screen sharing, that'd be awesome, because I want to draw it and I want to make sure that for those of you that are taking notes, you're really able to take in what it is I'm going to be sharing right now. If you've been on a call with me at some point since 2021 began, you may have already been introduced to this idea. But for those of you that haven't yet, I believe this at the core is going to be something that you can leverage moving into 2021 and beyond, to make sure that your mindset is in the right place, to make sure that the things that you're doing are actually serving you. And so there are 4 stages that we're going to talk about right here. I'm going to put them all up real quick. And like I said, for those of you that are taking notes, you can write them down, and we're going to talk about all 4 of these. So the first one is exposure. The second one is processing. The third one is application. And the fourth is feedback. And by themselves, these don't mean anything, right? When you're just taking a look at these 4 words, you're probably thinking like, what are we about to talk about? How do they connect to one another? And like I said, the intention that I have for you right now is to give you something that you can implement into whatever training you attend, into whatever chart you mark up, into whatever self-reflection that you do on this journey. And by having an understanding of these 4 ideas and how they relate together, I truly believe that you're going to be able to do that. I believe you're going to be able to experience tremendous growth. And before we dive into each of these 4 things, I want to know, by a show of 7s in the chat, are you actually ready to head into 2021 and gain further knowledge and to actually grow, to become a better trader, to become a better individual, if you're building the business to go to the next level? Because it all ties together. And so many times what happens is we are exposed to something, whether it's a concept. I'm sure you remember the first time you heard about smart money and you got excited, right? You thought it was different. And that exposure was so key, because it introduced you to something that you didn't previously know or that you didn't previously understand. So the exposure is key for a couple of reasons. Number one, we are constantly being exposed to new things. When we're trading in these markets, one thing that I've come to understand, one of my favorite mentors, Mark Douglas, he says that every moment in the market is unique. Every single moment in the market is unique. And I believe that on a core level. The reason why I believe that every moment in the market is unique is because I've been exposed to so many charts over the last 7 years. And even though the setups may look the same, the amount of pips that it gives me, whether price actually trades my way, and all of the other variables about how I interact with that particular trade is different each and every single time. The second reason why exposure is key. Right? We know that we're getting exposed to new information all the time, but do you remember what it felt like when you first started trading? Like, do you actually remember the moment when you looked at a chart for the first time? Do you remember what it felt like when your friend or your business partner or whoever introduced you to the market sat down with you, showed you a chart, and helped you understand that you are literally looking at money? You are looking at something that can become a skill where you can take your smartphone, you can take your computer, you can be on the beach, you can be on a mountain, you can be wherever. And you can literally have a skill where you can print currency at your fingertips. Do you remember what that felt like when you were exposed for the first time to that information? I know I do. And so without the exposure to the markets, you wouldn't even be here. Okay, so exposure. We know that we're getting exposed to new information all the time. We know that without that first exposure to the markets, we wouldn't even be here right now. But we also have to understand the third reason why exposure is important. Because like I was saying, a lot of the time we get introduced to different concepts or different ideas. You know, in the Bounce Back Bootcamp, we've got literally, I would say it's over 50 videos now. Like, there's so much information. If you've taken the time to go through this and you're getting exposed to all of these different ideas and all of these different perspectives. But here's the thing. We as humans collectively, and if you're guilty of this, you can feel free to post, "That's me," or "I've done that," or anything along that lines in the chat. When we get introduced to something for the first time and we're seeing other people get results for it, we forget that it actually takes time to gain first-hand experience, to really understand the information and what it means, how we can apply it. And so I want you to think of it like this. Doctors, okay, we're going to use doctors as the example. Here in North America, they go to school for 4 years post-college or post-university to go and learn specialized practice. Right? They got to understand the body, how things work, how everything connects together, and they're getting exposed constantly to all of this new information. I'm sure that none of us would feel comfortable going in to get a surgery performed from somebody that hadn't even graduated with their doctor's degree yet. Right? We want to make sure that they have the necessary foundation in place for themselves. And so with trading, it's absolutely no different. When you're learning about smart money, yes, it's powerful. But if you haven't taken the time to truly process what each of those components mean, you're not going to get very far moving forward without actually investing that time. Now, processing, this is something that at every single moment, we have the power to experience a breakthrough. We have the power to go to the next level. And I like to look at the markets almost like a puzzle. Right? With smart money, let's just run through a couple of things. We got whole levels. We got institutional candles. We got Fibonacci. We got imbalance. We got liquidity. We got the Wyckoff schematics. We've got all of these different things, right? Divergence and asset correlation, and literally so many different concepts that we've been exposed to. But then, like I said, it's like a puzzle piece. So once you learn about liquidity for the first time, and then you learn about imbalance, and then you learn about whole numbers, then you learn about Fibonacci, then you learn about institutional candles, and you learn about all of these things, you're being exposed to information that can take your trading to the next level, but you still need to process how each of those puzzle pieces connect together. How is it going to help you if you get a setup occurring near an all-time high on something like Bitcoin at a whole level, 40,000, right? And you start seeing various things that you look for, confirming that the market is getting ready to sell off. Yeah, you can have an inclination, you can have an intuitive feeling, you can think that something is going to happen. But remember, with smart money, the mindset is this: we play probabilities, not possibilities. We want to make sure that the information we're learning, we've taken the time to understand it, because trading it literally is like an art. The more time that you can invest, the easier it's going to become. When you're marking up a chart, the most powerful thing is that we could all be here right now and we could mark up Bitcoin, right? Or we can mark up Ethereum, or we can mark up gold, or we could mark up the indices. We could all literally go and look at the same chart, have the same info, but come up with 100 different outcomes, or however many people are on here right now, 212 different outcomes, right? Each and every single one of us could look at the same chart, apply the information, and come up with 200 different outcomes, even though we're looking for the same thing. So the more time that you're putting into this, the easier things become. Because again, like I was saying earlier, how I've never met a single person in all of my years who has become successful just by copying the ideas of others. You need to actually be applying the information that you're learning. And I'm gonna stop there for a second, because even though you're taking notes right now, and even though you show up to class and you show up to the Zoom calls and you're plugging in and you're studying and you're filling up your journals, just like the one that I've got in front of me right now, right? And you're taking notes. And I know me, when I first got started in those first 2 years, really, I was a information hog. I could not get enough. I would watch every video, attend every class that I could, literally just consuming, taking notes, filling up journal after journal. But I had to ask myself, what is that info doing, and how is it serving me in a positive way if it's just sitting there in the journal? Okay, and then this is where number 3, the application stage, is so key. You could be the best student in the world, but do you remember when you were in school and you learned how to do math for the first time? They taught you the theory of how to add one number with another. They showed you a couple of examples. And then what happened? They gave you a piece of paper, you had your pen or your pencil, and you had to sit there and actually add one number with another. So it's the same thing with trading. We're giving you the theory. We're showing you example after example after example. We're creating a foundation together where you're leveraging our experience to help take you to that next level. But the notes aren't going to do what you think they will unless you're actually doing something with the notes. You need to be applying the info. You need to be training your eye to spot institutional candles. You need to be training your mind to be in a position where you feel comfortable looking at the charts, where you feel confident when you are applying, right? Because again, if it's just sitting there in your notebook, it's not going to serve you. And then last but not least, feedback. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here because I want to give feedback directly to you without the distraction of the chart and everything else. We've talked about exposure, right? Being exposed to new information, being exposed to the markets, being exposed to this opportunity of I Am Mastery Academy if you're building the business, right? All these different things that you're being exposed to time and time and time and time again. We've talked about how you have to process that information. Even with what I'm sharing with you right now, this may be the first time that you've heard it. It may be the 10th, it may be the 100th. But you may still be at a point where you are thinking about how can I actually apply this to my life? How can I apply this to my business? How can I apply that? How can I apply this and share this with my students and with people that I'm working with, right? And you're processing the things that you're taking in and that you're writing down. And then as time goes on, you're doing it, right? You are doing the things you need to do in order to arrive at the feedback section. And this is where it's so cool when it comes to trading. And even with what we have, what we have is super special because even 20 years ago, we couldn't go on our phone and download MT4 and press buttons and make money. Right? 20 years ago, MetaTrader 4 didn't exist. 20 years ago, IM Academy didn't exist. Okay, 20 years ago, some of us, depending on how many years you've been on this planet, you may not even existed yet. You may have just been an idea. But understand that with trading, one of the reasons why it's so cool is because even though you're going to be learning stuff all the time, whether it be through Go Live or a Zoom call like this, the best teacher that I have ever had is the markets. The markets give you immediate feedback from the second that you press the button, whether you're on a live account or you're just practicing with demo, it's irrelevant. The moment that you press buy or sell, you instantaneously begin seeing feedback from the market in the form of profit or losses. Those are the only two things that can happen. You can either win on a trade or you can lose on a trade. But see, here's the thing. The difference between a retail market participant and somebody that's thinking and acting like smart money, someone that's actually in a position to move price, is that when you're trading from that retail state of mind, even though you can just win or just lose, when you're wrong on a position, okay, and when you take a loss, and this is going to relate to a lot of you, I feel. There's one of two ways that is commonly taught for how you can take a loss. Number one, you have a predetermined amount of pips, right? I'm going to put a 20 pip stop or a 30 pip stop or a 50 pip stop. Or you have a predetermined amount of money that you're willing to risk on that trade. I'm going to risk $5 on this trade. I'm going to risk $10 on this trade. I'm going to risk $20 on that trade. Have you been there at some point, or maybe you're there right now, where you have a preset number of pips or a predetermined dollar amount that you're willing to risk? That is the expectation that a lot of people in the beginning don't necessarily understand, that if you want to elevate to the smart money level, okay, one of the biggest differences between people that are still stuck and that aren't getting the results that you might want or that you might hope for, it comes in your ability to manage losses. Okay, because when you win, if you're trading from the perspective of if you take a loss, you're going to have a predetermined amount of pips or a predetermined amount of money that you're taking a loss on, what do you think you're going to be doing when it comes to your wins? Well, I'm going to set my take profit at a predetermined amount. I'm going to set my take profit at a predetermined amount of pips or a predetermined percentage, right? 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, whatever it may be. But how many times have you done that, and have you approached the market with that mentality without even necessarily realizing it? Price hits your take profit and then continues going in a direction for another 10, 20, 50, 100, 500 plus pips, depending on what you're trading. Right? Has that ever happened? I see a couple of you nodding yes, so I know I'm not alone on that. I know that when it comes to the wins, it may feel like you've left money on the table. If you experience something like that, you might be fearful of missing out on more of the move. And so you get back in and then you end up losing everything that you just made. Right? If you're feeling any of that when you're trading, you still are on that path to elevating to that next level in your application of smart money and the mindset you need to have. Now, one thing that I want to to just remind you of, even though I've been doing this for just over 7 years, there still is times where I get tangled up with the emotions. There still is times where I make trading mistakes. There still is times where I perhaps take a larger loss than was necessary. But it was enough to make me understand the lesson I needed to learn, so I don't need to pay that lesson again. Right? So don't feel like you need to be perfect. Just feel like, am I making progress? Right? When you really look at your results and where you are right now compared to when you first got started, I don't care if you've been trading for a week, 3 months, 2 years. Look at who you were and where you were in your life prior to getting introduced to the markets. And take a look at where you are now. Take a look at who you are now. Take a look at the things you believe. And take a look at the things that you know, not just in your mind, but in your heart, you're going to achieve for yourself, for your family, for your community. Prior to the markets, did you really think it was possible to do something like make $10,000 a month if you hadn't previously even known of anybody doing that? Right? Prior to being introduced to this opportunity, did you know any millionaires? Could you even imagine what it would be like to have $1 million for yourself? Right? You've made so much progress by getting started on this journey. And that's one thing that I really, really, really want to remind you of as we move here into 2021 and beyond. Because even though you're going to continue getting exposed to new information, right? We've got an entire year ahead of us. 2021 just started. So imagine for a moment, if you commit the next 365 days to continuing to tap in, continuing to mark up charts, continuing to plan and execute your own trades, not the opinions of others, but your own markups. What do you think that's going to do for you? How do you think that's going to affect your confidence? And how do you think it's going to affect your results? When you are getting feedback from the markets, one of my favorite things that Mike Miles has ever said is that whether your results on the screen are red or blue, it's just a reflection of you. And that really hit me the first time that I heard that, because at the time when I first met the Trade House, I was going through a massively challenging time in my life. But when I look back on that and I can appreciate and recognize how much growth I've experienced, and then I take a look at my results, it is the best confirmation that everything that I've done up until this point has been worth it. Because the market is giving me that direct feedback. So no matter whether your results are red or blue, it is literally a reflection of who you are right now. You may still have things that you need to work through. It could be your beliefs about money. That was one of the biggest challenges for me when we talk about spirituality and we talk about belief systems. I was raised in a family where, don't get me wrong, I didn't have it hard, but things were tight, right? Paycheck to paycheck type thing. And I remember one of the common things that was said amongst pretty much all of my siblings, all of my aunts and uncles, and like everybody: money doesn't grow on trees. You got to work hard to make money. You got to go to school. You got to, like, why are you dropping out of college? You got to go and graduate so you can get that good job, that high paid profession. Right? And so there was this constant battle with these limiting beliefs, so that even when I was losing, I was subconsciously sabotaging myself, because let's be honest, I didn't believe at a core level that I deserved those thousands of dollars that I made in just a couple of hours from pressing buttons, because I didn't work hard. I didn't deserve it because I didn't believe I did. And so I had to do that inner work to be able to start experiencing the shift in my results. And then as I did more work, continued exposing myself to new mentors, new information, calls like this, right? Opportunities to grow and to learn as I continue to expose myself to that. And as I continue to process, what can I take away from this? When I look at where I am right now, what do I need to do next? Two of my favorite questions to ask myself: what do I need to know? If my mind goes blank, okay, well then what do I need to do? Because you already know whatever it is that you know about the markets, about your life, about what you want, right? You know that better than anybody else because you're the one living it, you're the one experiencing it. And when it comes to what do you need to do, what do I need to do, right? It's that application part of the process. You have to be taking action. I don't know about you, but when there are these stories about these like spiritual gurus and you know the people that like go out into the mountains and they do this retreat to like become more balanced and become zen and get in tune with themselves and the divine and just like all of that, that's cool, but what are you going to do after that? Right? If you go out on a spiritual journey, well, what are you going to do when you come out of that? If you were poor financially going into that experience, you're still going to be in the same situation physically, but mentally now you're on a new level. So you actually became more through that experience. You're becoming more from being here on this call, exposing yourself to this information, processing how can you apply it to your life, and then applying it. And then the feedback, the more you apply it, the more your paradigm shifts, the better your results are going to get. The more confidence you're going to have. The more consistency that you'll see when you hop on a Go Live session, because feedback, it's not just the markets, okay? Like that's the key. It's not just the markets that get to give you feedback. And this is why what we have is so special. You have over 200 people right here, right now, that are inside of this community. And the community doesn't just stop there, right? Like we know that there are hundreds of thousands of people that we can connect with and we can collaborate with, whether they're a Go Live educator, a chairman, your friend down the road, someone that's in a cross line of your business, doesn't matter. You have access to so many other people that you can still receive feedback on. When you have questions about something that you've learned and you're still thinking about how can I apply this into my life, maybe I don't necessarily understand it all the way, maybe I need a different perspective, you've got hundreds of thousands of people just in I Am alone that are more than willing to help you get to that next level. There is trillions of dollars moving around in the markets every single day. Almost a quarter of the entire currency supply in the United States was printed last year. Like that's crazy to think that there was almost $10 trillion printed in a single year. Where does that money go? Going into the markets. How do I know? Because we've seen the volatility increase. We've seen the prices of certain stocks and the indices and commodities and cryptos. What are they doing? They're going up, right? So we can see what's happening right in front of us. And we have an entire community that is committed to being involved on this journey, becoming better as individuals and becoming better as market participants so that you can not only get feedback just from the markets, but you can get feedback from others in the community. But remember, so key. What is your intention when you're getting that feedback? Because if you're going into it the mindset of, man, I hope that Zachary's got a fire signal for me tomorrow on Bounce Back because I got to pay the bills, I got to make money. If that's the mindset, you're not there yet. And that's okay. We're all at different stages. I understand that even though you might look at me as a certain way because I've been trading for a long time, I've been teaching with I Am now for 3 years as of this January. You might have this certain perspective, but I also understand if I were to hop onto a call like this, and if it was more of an open discussion, I would be learning from some of your things that you shared, whether it be your stories or your observations or the questions that you asked. I would have my notebook and I would have my pen and I would be just as open-minded and willing to learn regardless of my own personal experience, because we are all unique. And I know that the feedback that you give me can then in turn be used to elevate and take things that I'm seeing and I'm understanding and I'm applying to the next level. Humility is one of the most powerful things as a trader, because once you get to a certain level, and if you're not there yet, it's okay. But when you get to a certain level where like you don't even need to think about the money anymore, and you're just trading for the passion of it, you're trading for the skill, you're trading to literally see your art when you mark something up before, and then some time goes by and it's literally like candle by candle playing out almost exactly as you thought. That is so freaking beautiful, because it's something that not a lot of people can do, but it is something that can be done. And I know that all of you have that potential. Right? The question isn't, does the information work? The question isn't, does the system work? The question isn't even, how do you get access to the system, because you're already plugged in. The only question is, what are you going to do with the information? What do you need to know to get to that next level? And if you already know the things that you need to know, well, then what do you need to be doing to get to that next level in your life, to get to that next level in your business, to get to that next level in your trading and in your results? We all come from different places. We've all got different goals and desires. My definition of success is going to be slightly different than every single person on this call. So all that we can do is continue to tap in, continue to be getting 1% better every single day in some way, so that as this year goes on and as we're getting ready to celebrate 2022, you're going to be able to look back and not just see growth in your bank, growth in your life experience, but growth in your understanding of you and how much power you actually have by learning this skill set, because it is about so much more than just making money in the markets. And I truly believe that once you have that paradigm shift, trading becomes a whole lot easier. So with that being said, I do want to pause it there. We've got power hour in about 10 minutes. So I want to make sure that I have enough time to kind of get everything set up for that. But I want to remind you one more time before we hop off here. You have so much power inside of you and inside of your head. And the reason why I say this and the reason why I believe this is because right now you could be doing anything, right? It's the evening in Germany. There's like a 6 or a 7 hour time difference from where I am right now. It's Monday night. Week just got started. You could be doing anything, but you're here. So that's a commitment, and that shows me, but it also shows you that you're prioritizing this. You're prioritizing learning. You're prioritizing becoming better. And that's something that I appreciate, right? Because we can do these classes whether you're here or not. We do the classes whether you're here or not. But the fact that you showed up, well, now that's your 1% better. And the better you become, the better it becomes for everybody. Because the more people that we have in our community that are winning, the better that it gets. It doesn't take away from me when you make a withdrawal on the market, right? It doesn't take away from anybody else when you're in profit and they're in profit and they're in profit. It doesn't take away from anybody because of how much abundance there is in the financial markets. And so with that being said, let's make 2021 a powerful year. If you just got started on your trading journey, know that there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. There are going to be some challenges, but if you truly understand why this skill is one of the most highly paid professions in the entire world, and you understand why you are learning it, you're not going to quit when you go through those challenges. And for those of you that have been doing this for a while, just remember, keep growing. Know that there is so much more to experience. I think that we're going to see some moves this year unlike anything that we have ever seen before. Even the fact that we're in like the first week of 2020 and I'm looking at the price changes, Bitcoin down almost 6,000 pips today. Come on now. There is an abundance of opportunity everywhere, regardless of what you're trading. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining me today on this call. Thank you, Nico, for hosting it and for coordinating it and getting everything together. Whoever designed the flyer, I love you. That was amazing. I love the design of that. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pass it back to you, Nico. Thank you again so much, Germany. Much love. I appreciate you.